Newsmax's Ed Henry and Bianca de la Garza join us now live outside Vatican City. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. So great to start our day with both of you again and everybody in our audience. You know, Bianca and I have been here for 3 days now, and this is the most intense day so far. Security, first of all, you can maybe hear the helicopter hovering above us. There's a lot more police presence as President Trump and other world leaders start heading here for the funeral on Saturday. But also, Bianca, so many more people trying to file past the coffin. 125,000 over the last couple of days have already seen Pope Francis and gone through the mortal and seen the mortal remains, but so many more people this morning.
Yeah, it does seem to be the final, few hours, and people are aware of that. In fact, they just sent out what's usually an alert for, emergencies, but it was just to alert everyone here, I believe, not just in Rome, but outside of Rome. It was sent out on telephones. St. Peter's Square is closing at 5 p.m. Joining us here to talk about the next few hours and also, of course, tomorrow's preparations already underway for Pope Francis's funeral. Andreas Tannhauser, he's the EWTN bureau chief here at Vatican City. Great to see you again today.
Thank you for having me again.
So we are awaiting world leaders to come here, but in the meantime, there's just a few short hours before we see the doors shut and the sacred ceremony behind closed doors will proceed to close Pope Francis's coffin.
Exactly. At 7 o'clock, they will close the doors. They still allow faithful to enter until 6 o'clock or to stand up in line. The lines are super long. Let's not forget also there are close to 300,000 teenagers in Rome for the Jubilee of Teenagers. They will say their goodbyes today in a different part of Rome. Tonight at the event called Via Lucis, the Way of the Light, which was pre-planned, but now it's kind of transformed into saying their farewells to Pope Francis.
We can see, meantime, the war in Ukraine still pretty intense. President Trump has been trying to get a peace deal. President Zelensky of Ukraine will be here among the world leaders shortly. And I find it interesting that in his final message on Easter Sunday, Pope Francis said he wants to see an end to the wars, both in Ukraine and Gaza. Your thoughts on what may happen on the sidelines? Because President Trump has already said he plans to meet with other world leaders.
Yes, exactly. He said already, meeting the world leaders here, he will bring this, that we need to make peace in Ukraine. At the same time, Pope Francis, throughout his pontificate, he always advocated for peace, of course. He was the one going to the ambassador of Russia by himself in Via Conciliazione, something unheard of before when the war started, when the invasion started, to ask to appease the situation, which, as we know, did not work out. And one of his final thoughts were, please bring peace. Of course, a lot of people are now a bit worried and concerned that the funeral will take on a little bit of a different accent, actually, and it's more about a political setting, which it really should be.
They don't want that to overshadow the funeral, sure.
And we know J.D. Vance said, and he was one of the last to see the Pope, that this isn't about American politics at all, and he kind of shut down some reporters who were trying to guide it that way. You're right, because we're looking at a legacy of a Pope who now there will be a conclave. The date hasn't been set yet. I wanted to also get your thoughts as we look towards, the future of the church. I think it's always interesting to the context. Pope Francis wasn't just the leader of, the Catholic Church. Vatican City is a city. This is a city, and he was, the head of this as well. So he ran this, and now he also ran the church. So there's a spiritual layer, and there's also a layer here of business that does have to take place with finances and with taking care of the church.
And of course, with diplomacy as well. So
yes.
It is a state. It has relations with virtually every state in the world, but it's also a neutral ground. And we've seen this a lot in the past when we were talking about peace talks also, that this is kind of a territory where you can come together, where there are no vested interests in one or the other side, but really to bring about peace and the good. And maybe on the spiritual side, if I may add that, we're coming up is Mercy Sunday. Something that was very close to Pope Francis's heart is this notion of mercy for the world, for everyone, regardless of which religion, to bring this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there'll be 9 days of masses even after the funeral on Saturday. Andres, I know you'll be with us throughout our coverage this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yes, great insights there. We'll send it back to you in New York with the notion that, again, you can hear that helicopter hovering over. A lot of world leaders heading here, including President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. We're expecting them to leave the White House next hour, and they'll arrive here in late afternoon Rome time. So it'll be very interesting to see into the evening, rather, that they'll get here. And the President and First Lady will stay overnight, obviously, ahead of this funeral, which starts early tomorrow morning. Back to you.
Information. truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.